Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here, and today I want to chat with you guys a little bit about training like an athlete. And that's something that gets said a lot here on YouTube, and there are certain people who are famous for that who say that, but they don't train like athletes. They don't really teach people to train like athletes. And it's ironic because my sport being largely powerlifting, not saying I haven't done other sports because I have, but that's besides the point. Powerlifting being my sport, or strength sports in general. And yet I don't really do that much powerlifting training in the classic sense, right? What people think of as the heavy squat, bench, and deadlift. In fact, I only do those lifts when I know I can PR on them. And they are usually big PRs, right? I bust them out of nowhere. People haven't seen me do a raw bench press in a while. Bam, 17-pound PR. Same thing with squatting. Don't do a back squat, hit a 20-pound PR, then hit another 30-pound PR. Don't do them. But what I try to promote to people is training like an athlete. And what does that mean? Well, that means that we need to train multiple training modalities. It means that we need to be in shape. And when I say in shape, we don't mean what bodybuilders call in shape. We mean conditioning. And we don't mean what bodybuilders call conditioning. That means high intensity cardio. That means general physical preparedness. So for me, what does that encompass? Well, you guys used to watch me do tons of Metcon work for a while. But if we are in shape, what is it that we're doing? We're doing metabolic conditioning. General physical preparedness. Depends on what circle you're in as to what they're called. This is what makes athletes. The big part of it, that and explosiveness. In my case, what has it been? Loaded carries, farmer's walks, sled drags. I get out and drag a sled. So when we talk about cardio, we're not talking about running or jogging. In fact, that's one of the frustrating things you see is that people are like, oh, you don't run. It's like, I'm in my 40s and a strength athlete. No, I don't run. Have I been a distance runner in the past many, many years ago? Yes. I used to actually log 5 miles every morning. Every morning, I used to get up before the sun came up and put 5 miles in. Running is not necessarily the best way to build conditioning. And plenty of experts agree, unless you are going to have a sport-specific need to run, probably not a lot of need to be running at all. Beat you up, get up and do other conditioning work. In my case, sleds. Why sleds? Well, because it brings a lot to the table. There's a hypertrophic response. In fact, appropriately done metabolic conditioning tends to be fairly easy on your joints and impact, while not only improving conditioning, but strength-based conditioning, to where there is a hypertrophic response. If you get out and drag a sled, your quads and glutes are going to grow from it. Okay, they will grow from it. You're not going to just get in shape. Do a bunch of loaded carries. Right? Traps, forearms, core, abs, hips, all that stuff will grow from it. You're going to do barbell complexes, everything's going to grow from it. Do circuits of Metcon. Conditioning work. And if you're a good athlete, you'll be a good powerlifter. If you are strong and athletic, you'll be decent at powerlifting. And I make a statement like that and people get so upset. Well, that guy's out of shape, piece of crap. I'm not going to name names because technically I can get in trouble with certain federations for slandering or insulting specific lifters by name. People say, well, you've done some of that in the past. Yeah, but there's a statute of limitations on that. You can't go back and say, oh, he said something bad 6 years ago. That's not how it works. But the fact of the matter is, look, some of those guys are not athletes. Either are they outside of the big three. And they could be just as strong if they did the other stuff. So we're talking about conditioning work. And what about explosive training? I mean by that speed work, plyometrics. I'm a big believer in speed work and dynamic effort. But to do the best forms of that, you have to be in shape. Because it's one thing to come in and do the doubles and the triples. You guys ever done 5x5 using the west side waves? Oh man. You better be in shape. To legitimately do those explosively with the short breaks, you're going to have to be in shape. Your conditioning work is going to matter. So we come back over to different attributes feeding each other. And that's its own topic also. right? That's its own topic. Being in shape with general physical preparedness will impact your ability to do speed work, to do the hardest variations of it. And those hardest variations of it do what? They make you explosive and strong. And I would argue that speed work is the foundation. There's a foundation for a strength-based athlete. Speed. I'm not saying maxes don't work. Max effort work is critical. It's critical for refining your strength, maximizing it. See, speed work, though, big foundation for the athlete. I mean, realistically, if I were to take someone just to make them more athletic and get them generally strong, I don't know that we'd even need the other methods on the front end, right? What do I mean the other methods? Max effort and repetition effort. They're good. They have their place. They're critical for maximizing everything. If you just wanted to get athletic, you could do nothing but dynamic work. You could do dynamic work in general physical preparedness, and you would be powerful, explosive, and in shape. You can drag a sled, do loaded carries, do dynamic effort work. Be powerful and athletic. And also build the base to be a power lifter also if you wanted to. Now, I'd make the argument that the max work and rep work all have their place too. So let's come back over. What does an athlete need also? Do they need to be strong? And when we say strong, we talk about maximizing strength. I had someone ask me that the other day. They're like, Jason, how does this carry over to whatever sport doing the maxes? You don't think that there are sports to where you have to exert maximum force? I think when you put 500 pounds on your back, or you say a box squat, you get into a 500-pound box squat and you explode as hard as you can for one all-out rep. 500 pounds. You don't think that carries over to a martial artist's ability to kick somebody? You don't think that carries over to a football player pushing someone? What do you mean, how does it carry over? You don't think it carries over to a sprinter having to exert maximum force to get that one step in as hard as they can, to get them exploding off the start? Of course it does. And we have the repetition effort method, which again just builds general thickness, work capacity, base strength. So what is it we're talking about? What do we mean train like an athlete? It means we need to incorporate all these different dynamics. It's not this single dynamic. Right? If you're going to be athletic, we need to work on conditioning, and that would be in the form of general physical preparedness. You need to just be generally fit, and it doesn't mean you need to even do 37 different CrossFit WODs. You can get in shape doing loaded carries or sled drags. Like, you can get in shape doing those. Get out and drag a sled 2 or 3 times a week and get in shape. You get in very good shape. We need to be explosive. That means dynamic effort work and probably some amount of jumping. And the jumping doesn't need to be complexly programmed into that. Jump on a plyo box. But you need to incorporate some jumping. If you want to be truly explosive, jumping. We need to be able to maximize force production. It's max effort work. And we need to be thick and strong. It's going to be your rep work. It's going to be a lot of your supplemental work. And it all feeds into each other. These are all important elements in building an athlete who needs strength or power. Which just is most athletes. It's why these sort of systems of training work for every sport. And I argue even the system I do, people think of it as powerlifting. No, it's general strength athlete building. You can build football players, you can build MMA fighters. They're all strength athletes. Now, some people say, well, some of that's a combat, but that's a strength athlete. A fighter needs to be strong and powerful. People who argue otherwise don't understand why we have weight classes. Anyone who says that I'm wrong should be arguing that weight classes need to be removed from fighting sports. Of Of course, that would completely derail that stereotype. First time a 200-pound guy who can deadlift 600 pounds, who also has 12 years of serious martial arts training, you throw him in the ring against a 150-pound guy and he's going to rip his head off. He's going to literally break his neck. It matters. All right, guys, well, that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it's been informative, and I will talk to you guys next time.